So, this video is definitely going to be different than my last one. That was a full guide to the skill, and this is not. Pretty much nothing changed in the patch notes. I don't know what GGG was expecting ballistic with character balance, quote unquote, to mean. At least to me, that's not what we really got. But regardless, this is the same build. The main things I wanted to talk about are some of the finer points of support gems, as well as share this topper and POB that I made with some more damage if people want to scale the build into the later stages. But if you're just league starting, watch the previous video, come here, have more specificity, just a little more stuff. POBs from the first one will also be in the description of this one. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the support gems. When you're looking at a 6 link, there's a lot of different supports you can have here. You can have Deadly, you can have Swift. The other ones to look at are Volatility, which you can swap out for either Chance to Bleed, which actually has quite a bit of damage because of this 23% more bleed damage there. And then the last one is Sadism. So, none of them are really comparable based just on PoE damage, or PoB damage rather. So Chance to Bleed is the simplest one. This is just normal build. Volatility is good, right? Like you can see right here, 55% damage, obviously very strong, very good, especially with the Verslatha's coil. That's going to be very powerful. The thing you got to understand about this, though, is that if you're only doing a single hit, it's not gonna be great a lot of the time because you can hit that minimum damage. And this is more if you don't have Rislatha's Coil, because of course, as you have a wider range, the chance that you'll hit super low on that is not going to be as high. That's something to consider and something to make sure you are looking at before you just get baited by this damage number. Chance to Bleed is just generic. Deadly Ailments, this one I go back and forth on. It's a lot of damage. It's obviously very good. You can get Awakened Deadly as well. I didn't spell it right. Ailment. Recap. And this is obviously very strong. 54% more is huge. We actually don't do 0 hit damage on this build, though. If you look at the hit DPS here, and then you turn on Awakened Deadly, you lose all your hit DPS, which is fine. But the speed at which you hit leech cap and the amount of damage you're doing, if you have things like, if you want this fortification wheel, this can be quite good. And I think most of my PoEs take this. If you have that set up, then this makes it much more inconsistent to actually proc that. So it's a give and take. I personally am not a huge fan. Now, this is kind of the other extreme on that. This is obviously going to be not exactly what you're looking for a lot of the time because this makes your ailment duration so much lower. But the ability to just kind of do all your damage instantly is incredibly strong. This is functionally 80% less duration modifiers on your bleed, with one of them making you deal more damage and one of them not. So that's something to look at, but you know, I probably wouldn't run it on most setups. But that will be, to some degree, personal preference. After looking at all 9 of the currently revealed alternate ascendancies, I don't see taking any of them ever, to be honest. The only one that even looked slightly good was the one for Delirium, which delays damage taken, because you do have 90% block, so that could be fine. But what are you taking off, right? Like, you can just use this instead, because the aggravate is great for quality of life. It's not mandatory if you have other sources. Specifically, you're going to want this gloves mod most of the time if you don't take that ascendancy point. And that's fine, but you're not going to have that up, so you need a lot of damage before that ends up feeling pretty good. Measured retaliation is obviously incredibly powerful, and if you're doing the ping pong setup with no forgiveness and this node here for 30% chance to ping pong, along with this 50% here, so that you can go between your main skill Lacerate and the Crushing Fist. It's obviously good. And so if you're here and you really don't like the aggravate and you want to optimize it a bit, that delayed damage could be pretty decent. But I don't see it, especially not on the League starter. And that's the other thing. The reason I didn't originally have a POB like this that's higher on damage is because I wouldn't use this. This isn't how I would play it, pretty much ever. What I like to do with this build personally, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay. So this is what we should have here. What I like to do with this build personally is use it as a very strong league starter that can do pretty much whatever content I want it to do, and then I can farm maybe harvest, easily all 4 of my void stones, and some early currency so that I can pivot to whatever the hell I want. Maybe that's a strength stacker, maybe that's some fuck ass wand build, whatever the case may be. And if you don't want to do that, and the downside that the build has on quality of life, where you have to get hit before you can actually deal damage, is something that is not a downside to you, great. Just take this. It scales damage really well. You're probably not going to be hitting dot cap, but realistically, you don't need that. So unless you're trying to specifically Uber boss, which just build a miner if it's really that crazy, um, this will be more than enough DPS. These defenses obviously are very strong. The armor's pretty low, but that's mostly because I don't have well-crafted bases, and this isn't optimized. The uniques are quite good. The rares are solid for the most part, but realistically, if you want more armor, you can definitely get it, and you can squeeze some things around. Maybe you decide that the 12% from these boots isn't worth it, or you decide you don't really need penance mark because you're just clearing maps. There's a lot you can mess around with. But that's the main meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about. One other thing that I feel like is kind of worth mentioning, when you're league starting this, it's pretty fine. I personally like going bleed sunder into retaliate when I hit maps. You can transition as soon as you want. It's more tanky than bleed sunder, so that can be good if you don't care as much about your campaign time or damage. But this is mostly if you want a tanky build and you want specifically to not die, or you want specifically to have pops and bleed. If any of those aren't the case, just play the slam build. Earth Shatter's so broken. It's such a broken league starter. The reason I'm not league starting Earth Shatter is because I don't think it's cool to league start something multiple times. So Earth Shatter, which I league started in a couple of the private leagues that I played last league, just is not something that I'm going to be looking for. But if you just need what's the best league starter, just go Earth Shatter. Sure, you can find 10 POBs. If anyone really can't find one, type a comment. I'll give you one. It's not hard. Anyway, so that's the most of it. I'm really excited for this league. Panic looks really fun. Everything should be really good. And have a good league start. See you on the beach, Exiles.